communicate by raising their hands right away. We also can have those that probably want to share, maybe just two people who want to share something what they've got so far, after whom we would then have the questions and answers before we continue, because we did promise that today we'll answer questions. Shalom. Yes, Mr. Rami.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I want to also thank the Lord for the life of Dr. Debra, because the last 2 days has been quite exciting for me, and I think it's for all of us. And my prayer now is to pray for us to have people who are ready to lay foundation as leader, because for our nation to be industrialized, we need power, and it needs many sacrifice, because with the lead we receive, my understanding is that we cannot come to any outsider help, literally, or loans outside of Africa to build a proper generator for ourselves, for us to have a proper power, because they'll always lead us to things that are not relevant for us. For example, in my nation here in Benin, when they wanted to build gas power, they quickly receive money from America. But it has been built, but it's not necessarily being used, because they are not getting the gas to use it. But it's billions of investment. So these are things, when I get more understanding yesterday with Dr. Debra, and I think we need to pray with proper people in place who are ready to make the sacrifice. And like Ethiopia did, and it was able to have his own this thing with internal investment. We need to work that one now, because if we are still looking for those people to invest, for us to have power, to have industry, we will not never reach there. So organization in West Africa like WAP, I don't know what we should do, but we should pray proper people on power. If the three nations of Sahel, they didn't cut off from ECOWAS, we can expect something, because their mindset is different and they want internal investment, so they will have influence over WAP for things to change. But for now, we still have the same people who doesn't want us to be independent when it's come to power, backing that organization. So that organization, it will be difficult for it to really accomplish its mission and its vision. So this is my takeaway. Thank you, sir. God bless you.
Excellent. Wonderful. Maybe I listen to others, but just a quick question and comment. How familiar are you with the energy potential of Nigeria? Because it's just next door to Benin Republic.
Yes, sir. Nigeria is the same, almost same challenge, because Nigeria government, they have throughout the decades, they don't seem to care really about Nigeria being over no, have autonomy of power because of the people of Nigeria, since they want to help themselves, trying to buy generator. So even you go to Lagos, Lagos is so noisy because of the number of personal generator you have in Lagos. So because of that, the government doesn't want to properly work it out. If not, Nigeria will have so much industry right now. So I think we need really somebody who can stand Nigeria even on its own, because Nigeria is more wealthy than Ethiopia. Nigeria is more wealthy than Ethiopia when it comes to resources and all of that. So Nigeria on his own can even build this thing that can even supply the whole West Africa if they were to have the good leader, the right leader.
Okay.
It's my
Thank you.
viewpoint.
Oh, yeah, you still have something. Please go ahead, finish what you're saying.
No, it's okay. I'm done, sir. I'm done,
All
sir.
right. First of all, you're right. There is the aspect of one, let me put it this way, the leadership question. Two, the aspect of citizens. And three, those who are ready to bite the bullet. You do remember that Prof. Deborah mentioned the fact that in Nigeria, they've gone to the extent of wanting to put up their own, distribution lines. That's people coming together and putting up the poles and all that, buying the transformer, etc., etc. Is just a supply. So there are people that are plantings that seem to be undermining that progress. So there is the aspect of leadership, the political will and the spiritual steel backbone for every political leader, especially the most relevant and most prominent and most visible of them, from the president going, especially to the Minister of Energy, because aviation, they've done some things, and others like that in Nigeria. With that said, there is the aspect of the citizens. I've touched on the aspect of, self-initiative, but those who are ready to bite the bullet, like Dangote, who was able to establish the refinery that is the, largest single chain kind of refinery with 650,000 barrels per day capacity to refine products. And already, if you go on YouTube to search, or any of the other search engines or platforms, you will discover that Europe is already beginning to feel the heat of that, because they have to look for alternative markets. Not only has Dangote, affected them that way, but internally, he's gotten about one or two more of the government refineries to start refining products again, because, it's like people asking questions. That's why I talked about citizens, demanding certain things, the office of the citizen. That's why I was talking to Veronica yesterday concerning advocacy in each nation. There is that aspect. Then the resource mix for energy production needs to be looked at very critically. If you're talking in terms of, gas, so oil and gas, because the gas is still being flared. And WAP is supposed to have been one of those that you have West African pipeline project, all right? So, what is it that we do that we're going to ensure we do, not only for Nigeria, but for all the oil producing nations, both of West Africa and other African regions, to ensure that we properly channel the gas for energy production or power production. Then you have the aspect that has to do with hydro. You have that which has to do with nuclear. You have other areas, including renewables, that are there. Nigeria also does have people that seem to be doing what, Veronica was talking about pertaining to the people trying to use waste to energy. Similarly for Ghana, but very barest minimum level of development, where somebody is one person that is trying to, turn waste into fuel, where literally you can have that become liquid, fuel. But don't let me go into too many details. I think it's important for us when we begin to analyze these things to say, okay, what are we talking about? What are the things that are available in the country? Because I could have gone on beyond nuclear to talk of lithium in terms of renewables that I was talking about. Nigeria has a good quantity of lithium. If it came to graphene and others that we could have been talking about, we could look at, one of the things I was talking about concerning another nation in the SADC region yesterday. Let me ask, how many of you are very familiar with carbon 14? Carbon 14. Anybody? Quickly. I had seen Hannah had raised her hand, but I believe that was for a question or comment. But is there anybody who wants to raise their hand now concerning carbon 14? I've seen Beulah's hand too in terms of writing to everyone saying raise hand. I don't know whether she was talking about herself or she was drawing our attention to Hannah's case.
I wanted to ask question, sorry.
You were raising your own hand or you were drawing our attention?
Draw your attention.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let's hear who is familiar with carbon 14? Oh, wow. Okay. How many of you are aware that even for the solar energy that we have only 5-year, long in terms of lifetime batteries, that if we were to develop our carbon 14 in Africa, you would have batteries that would last 5,700 years. Are you aware of that?
No, sir.
Well, please check. There are 2 Nigerian, ladies that are now British. I came up with a battery that can last, and is diamond batteries. So, but if you just hear diamond battery, then it looks like it's difficult for you to do anything about it. I could have gone to the issue of, Maxwell in Zimbabwe doing some very wonderful things. So it's time for us to begin to think, to say, okay, if we were going to harness the resources, remember what is governing. To govern means to be able to, organize people into manageable administrative units for the purpose of harnessing the best resources within that particular environment, that region, that sphere, whatever you want to call it, for most appropriate, most strategic application for the common good of the environment itself and the inhabitants of that territory or environment. So, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and he will govern the nations with equity, and all of those things that we quote. Let's practicalize that right now in this time of realignment, fullness of alignment for the purpose of equity of expression. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Or am I, talking maybe above some people's heads? I don't think so.
It makes sense.
Yes, sir. It makes sense, sir.
Excellent. So that's what I said yesterday, that I'm not going to teach you what to think, but I'll teach you how to think. That's the purpose. That is supposed to be the thrust. Whatever it is that I'm doing is with the aim, with the ultimate expected outcome being that you would have learned how to think and always analyze situations before you take a stand or a position, which has to do with maturity of disposition, where you don't adopt any position until you know God's position in the matter. God's position is for the best of everyone in the territory or the environment. And that's why I said, okay, you're in Benin Republic. I could have gone into the issues of Benin Republic and some of the things that are there, or next door neighbor like what do you call it, Togo. When maybe Mercy should be able to tell us this. What are the 5 basic elements for life that are essential for life? Or Bila wants to help because Sister Mercy is not answering yet.
Oh, I was speaking. I didn't know I was on mute.
You were muted. Okay. All right. Now speak.
Air, water, food. When I say air, of course, oxygen is the most important part. Water,
Excellent.
food,
So now you're beginning to
water.
talk about elements.
Yes.
Oxygen, 1. Okay.
Oh, okay.
The
That's the
first
way
one
you
would have
put it.
been what?
Sorry.
Hydrogen, carbon.
Nitrogen,
Carbon,
carbon,
Yes, nitrogen,
nitrogen.
then oxygen, then phosphorus.
yeah.
Okay, you said elements. I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question well.
Yes. So at the end of the day, Togo is one of the best places for phosphorus.
Yes.
That's by
Yes.
don't let me go into
Yes.
too.
Yes.
So the point here is the average African has been trained to just go and work, look for a job. And it's not limited to Africa, but I am talking now with reference to what we are talking about. So contextualizing what we're talking about. If we would get more serious about some of these things, we'll begin to speak differently, we'll begin to think differently, we'll begin to plan differently, we'll begin to execute differently, we'll begin to coalesce differently, we'll begin to collaborate differently because we'll have different focus. Because I ask myself, okay, people have been talking about hydrogen and all kinds of things, including hydrogen fuel cells and all of that, and talking about all the other things and some of the most abundant, things, elements in the earth or in the universe. We need to talk about all those things and begin to look, okay, so what do we do here? Or what could we harness here? What are some of the low-hanging fruits, the lowest of the low-hanging fruits that will immediately go into, that will be able to actually play catch up as against whatever we're talking about? Yes, the last 2 days we're talking about, sources for energy, especially power production. And we say the so-called dirty fuel, like coal, is not even what they're talking about. And like I said, and I think Seth Deborah made reference to that I had said that Nigeria has both brown coal and black coal. And the case of Germany is brown coal. So really, if you're talking about what we could do, we have the best possible things that we could do. And that's why I said Nigeria has the best resource mix that they could easily use. I mean, with the lithium battery manufacturing being established, a different story altogether. When somebody like Museveni insisted that he wasn't going to allow them to take gold out and other kinds of things out, they came and established the refineries, in the country of Uganda. Yes, some Indians and others came, but at least it was in his country, not somewhere else. And, he began to encourage some of his people to do some things. I wouldn't want to go far and wide. Let me listen to the rest of us so we can speak and then move on. Because it appears that we almost are being, for lack of a better word, tunnel, visioned, tunnel, how do I call it, focused, and we are almost straight-jacketed. This is the only way you must think. Don't look this way, don't look that way. Am I communicating?
Very much, sir.
Yes, you are, sir.
Only the two of you heard me. The rest, well, thank God.
Yes, sir.
Sinking.
Yes, sir.
Heard you. It's the education. It's the education that
That's what I had wanted to raise. That I think that one of our challenges has been the way that science has been taught. Science has not been uh, verticalized, if I should put it that way. It's more of a something that is just something that is taught that flies over our head. It's not related to everyday life. So we feel that okay, we don't really need it. I think that has been one of our main challenges.
yeah.
As much as I hear you, Sister Jennifer, and agree with you to an extent, I didn't go to a different type of school. I even went to a village school. If you saw my school, you might not think I'll be where I
Sir,
am today.
I understand you. I'm not making. I don't think I'm making excuse.
She said yes. I agree with her. She said one. And I think that certainly is a contribution. Then also the personality and the temperaments also matter. There are people who can think individually for themselves. I think sometimes our culture also doesn't help us. There are some elements, it's not everything, some elements of our culture which kind of encourages coming together, I mean, our social and community part, which has very, very positive aspects, but sometimes it doesn't help us. But I think there are other multiple issues because the Japanese are like us. They have a saying that the nail that stands out is hammered down, but yet they are able to arise above that. So I think that there are many complex issues, but I think the best that we can do is to show, because demonstration is the best, that in very practical ways that we have, for example, adopted my favorite place in Ghana, Chado, a small place, and we have done A, B, C, and people will realize that it is possible, it can be done.
Excellent. Sister Veronica wanted to say something, then we'll go to Remy.
Prophet, admin.
Okay, after Veronica, then you, Beulah, and then we'll go to Remy.
Yeah, good evening. One of the things that we have to look at, you mentioned low-hanging fruits. It's which we've been thinking about it a lot, and it's about collecting all the tires, waste tires, and through the process of pyrolysis, produce whatever product that can come out of it. And we get government to subsidize or companies to subsidize that process. Well, it fits into environmental management policies and reducing waste and having a clean environment. For me, I think it's a quicker project, low-hanging fruit that one can really look at. A lot of government are struggling with having a lot of tires. I think in many African countries, people are creative to use those tires for furniture, for other things, resculpting them and selling them as a new tire. But there's a bigger challenge that could be solved for government and institutions. That's my view.
All right, thank you very much. Were you able to make it for the Economy Gate meeting this morning?
No, I'm studying, sir. So I'm I'm doing other things. Apologies.
All right, because it's important. That's one of the ways we'll begin to make the progress. when you make those meetings and you're able to discuss, because I don't know if you realized yesterday, you seem to have missed quite a bit, even in terms of this, and you needed to play catch up to know where things were to contextualize. I do agree that there are a lot of things that happen while, we are trying to just go through the day each day. So sometimes it's being able to balance the demands on our time. So you pray about that and see, because then it will be easier for you to say, okay, this is what I have, this is what this person has, that, okay, well, how do we network around Africa, for example, to be able to make the kinds of difference that we're supposed to make? With that said, let's hear from Beulah, and then we'll go to Remy and then Hannah.
Yes, concerning the education system. First of all, I want to thank God for you.
You need to please get closer to your device or increase the volume, because you're not that audible anymore.
Okay, sir. Can you hear me now? Is it okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank God for you and for Logos-Rhema. Because we are learning a lot of things and learning how to make it practical. Concerning the education system, when you talk about how they have changed the education system in a way that it has become like from the industrialized revolution, we're putting everybody in the classroom. It had me thinking, so I was like, it was my first time hearing that. So I had to go online and study concerning that and make research. And I saw what happened. I think it was between the 17th and 18th century. So I was thinking, I said, wow. So please correct me if I'm wrong. I said, I don't think that we're talking about erasing altogether the calculations and reading, but how can we blend that, as you are saying, for us to learn how to think instead of being taught how to think. And then also, we also have the science and technology coming heavy in this area. So I'm thinking, it has me thinking, how to blend all of that, to make things work for us as Africans.
All right. Thank you. Yours is both a comment and a question. Yes, there's nothing wrong with the ability to read and write. There's nothing wrong with the ability to crunch numbers and manipulate numbers. But there is everything wrong with just knowing them for the knowing sake, without that helping you to now deploy the best that God put in you. Because what is education from Educo? To draw out the best in you for the benefit of the environment and the rest of humanity. Now, so if we're talking from that perspective, then it means that, we wouldn't have been able to do what we're doing. We're reading, all right? That's why you're able to see, whatever anybody types in the chat window. I could read that you said there was a raise a hand and all of that. So it's definitely useful, but tools are only tools. They're useful to the extent that you know how to use them to accomplish the desired end result. What is it that you want to accomplish? Which is what we're talking about. So it is important for us then, as people, to begin to say, what is it that we really want to do? Okay, let me ask you a very basic question that I know you're very familiar with, because, probably how many years ago? Maybe almost 20 years now ago, at least 18 years ago, maybe 19 years. Yeah, almost 20 years ago, I came to Liberia, and I was sharing a few things, and I asked some basic questions. I asked a question pertaining to what's the national vision statement for Liberia. We've heard me talk about national vision statement for every nation, and we don't seem to have national vision statements. Hardly do we have for a few nations. So the question is, what is the national vision statement? Then you now derive your national mission statement, from which you now say, okay, which are the core values, national core values that will guide your progress and your pursuit of these goals. Talking of the vision first and then the mission that you're on to accomplish. And then now you talk about the strategy you want to adopt. And if you don't have that, we'll keep, going many directions. So that is what we need. But even at a basic level of the individual, I did ask, what is your personal vision statement, personal mission statement, personal core values, and then personal strategy to get to become what you see as a finished product of you, because we're talking of drawing out the best in you. Do you know what the best is that God put in you? Because we're supposed to train a child in the way he or she should go, in keeping with the individual gift and the bent, whatever pulls their hearts. So that's what I believe will be important. Then you come to the aspect of the family vision statement, family mission statement, core values, and then family, strategy. Before now, you come to the aspect of communal, then municipal, then national, and then continental, etc., etc. So that seems to be the challenge, because charity begins at home. We don't seem to have had that. And, as much as I agree with everyone that is talking about one of the key challenges is the kind of educational system, etc., etc., that's only talking about the literacy and numeracy aspect, because education is not limited to that. And some of us, with even what we're talking about pertaining to our cultural backgrounds and all that, some of the cultural backgrounds were actually very educational. They really helped us. We had apprenticeship methods and all of that, and so many other things that are very positive. Don't let me take all the time on that. The key point I'm making is that it's time for us to do a rethink, so that after rethinking, we can begin to talk about, okay, learn, relearn, unlearn, etc. Or learn, unlearn, relearn, or unlearn, relearn, and begin to deploy. I don't know if I have been able to communicate effectively.
Positive.
All right. Was somebody else going to say something? I do know Remy and Hannah, you had their hands up, so let's go on to Remy's, because I had thought somebody was saying something in the background. Maybe it was just Beulah's voice that echoed.
Thank you, sir. Sincerely, I want to thank Dr. Abubakar especially, because to say the truth, like you used to tell us, by the grace of God, you were almost self-raised with God. That helped you to early understand so many things, because most of the things you'll be sharing with us or challenging of us with, me, I will tell my part, you are the first person I heard that from. So, and most of the people who come around you to teach us, many of them were trained by you. They were challenged to learn and to become that how they are today, because they met you. So my prayer is that God raise many like you throughout the world, because meeting you has made I would take, is it the U-turn or totally turn around of my life? And I know it's for many of us here. And even in terms of Vision Nation, having this personal life vision, we didn't understand it the way we were taught by you. So it has challenged us now to help others around us. And today, by the grace of God, with the little I got from you, when I met somebody, even with 2 minutes, 5 minutes of conversation, I learned a lot from you. It wasn't like that before. My conversation was void before. Now it's relevant. It's solution. It gives somebody solution. It changed life. I help people to understand better, to see direction. Even at time you just said one or two words, and the person will say, "Hey, I get." So I think we thank God for being here, and now people by the government using the name consideration, we are going to be nation and bring our nation into its destiny properly. This is what I want to say. So I really want to thank you and all the team of resource development, the team of the Global Author Watch, all the faculty members of COSTRAD and the rest. You have been wonderful things with, and you will be surprised in a few years what you will see around the world. Thank you, sir. God bless you.
Thank you very much for your kind words and your generosity and all that. That said, I'd like to say that we'll continue to contribute our quota, but there are others. I don't want to be another Elijah who says I'm the only one left in Israel, that has what it takes. And I pray that we'll all know that. So as you continue to pray for some of us on the team, which definitely God is doing what he is doing, pray also for those that are also there that have not bowed the knee to Baal, in quotes, to also begin to come out. There are those that we have never met. They might have met others like you that have affected them. Maxwell Chikumbutso, that I hope that's a correct pronunciation of his name. I think it's Chikumbutso, in Zimbabwe. We haven't met yet. Maybe he might have been one of the, things that we're teaching in Zimbabwe. I don't know. But I do know that some people that know us had asked us to pray, to ensure that the young man is protected. Now, thank God, even the president is trying to help him, give him the opportunity. That's, Mnangagwa, So we thank God. There are others like that around the continent that are doing well, including Nigeria, somebody that is doing well in terms of, manufacturing, all kinds of things that have to do with agricultural equipment, etc., etc. My prayer is that more and more people begin to pop up all over the continent and the world at large. In terms of teaching people how to think as against what to think, I think at some point it was almost the preserve of the royal families. So if you notice for them, if they were sending people to school, they sent them to military schools first before anything else, so that they will have that level of discipline, thinking on their feet, because if your life is in danger, you have to think on your feet. So that actually helps. And with the various exercises, even in terms of teamwork and all that, treasure hunting, all of that, people wanting to probably eliminate each other in the bush, just as game, not as aspect of actually shooting. But if they shoot you with something that is not going to kill you, it will not really harm you. But once it hits you, then you're eliminated and stuff like that. People had to think on their feet. What's the best way to be able to avoid all of the things? And game theory is what has been used by most people to make progress. I know some people have, Sun Tzu and all those ones pertaining to the Chinese writer and all that. But game theory is very important at the end of the day. And there are game theories that have to do with Africa. All I'm saying is, what do you have in your house? What do you have in your hand? That's what God asks. And it's important that we look at those things together and see how best to take advantage of the low hanging and the lowest hanging of the low hanging fruits. With that said, let's listen to Sister Hannah, and then we might have to go on. I would even want to see how many people went for the economy and development policies and projects meeting this morning at 3 a.m. If you didn't go and you're in that gate, I think you need to do something about that. So let's hear from Hannah, because you had your hand up earlier, so that we can move on quickly.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're
Yeah, thank you so much. Some of the things, most of the things have already been tackled. That's why I lowered my hand. Maybe I'll start by responding to your last question. Yeah, by God's grace, I joined a bit late, but I was able to request for some who I know are in that gate from Malawi to attend. So 5 of us were able to attend the session. Yeah, so those that attended from the first, I've already received feedback from them. And what we are going to do, like we did with the education, after the meeting, we're able to meet and just reflect and see how we move forward, because we don't want just to be attending the meetings, but we want to get practical and also to see what help do we need, so that we're making use of what we're learning. So we're thankful for the opportunity that we have. Yeah. So I was going to make a comment, but I think through your comments, there's an assignment, there's an indirect assignment that I'm seeing here. My initial comment was just to say that through the presentation, it goes back to the issue of education. And I was looking at it that there are two sides. One, there is need for us to grow a new breed through the young people that think differently from how we were trained. We were trained how what to think, but we already need to begin to inculcate in the young people how to think, and also broaden their exposure as they are growing up. So that's one thing I saw. And then the whole issue of unlearning, relearning for those of us that are a little bit older. We need to just to give ourselves to unlearn and relearn. But what I've also noted is that even in our quest to make a change in our nations, then what you've shared, the whole issue about having a national vision statement, the national mission statement, the core values, the strategies. I think it's something then that those of us that are saying, okay, we want to see change, we need to be very deliberate and very strategic, because sometimes we want change, but the change is not well consolidated. And so it can even become a source of more confusion than a help. So as you spoke, I realized that, okay, I think as we are taking note of areas that there's need for change, we need to also challenge ourselves and say, okay, what should be the national vision? What should be the national mission? What should be the core values, so that as opportunity arises, then we have got something that is structured and not something that someone cannot make sense of. So that's what I concluded through what you have presented. Yeah. So in the varying areas, the issue of energy, maybe to go by the gates, maybe that's what needs to happen, because these things are touching various gates. So Yeah, that's what I wanted just to share. Thank you, sir.
Okay, that's a very good, input. The question I'm going to ask you, with the CASIA, project, because probably let me contextualize it. In terms of national vision, national mission statements, and then the aspect of core values and strategy, they're very important. But then you have to ask, okay, under the strategy, what resources do we have? How many of us here, not just Sister Hannah, have done a resource audit at the national level? Because I'm asking her concerning one. That's the CASIA, Is that how you pronounce your CASIA?
Yes, CASIA. That's the right
CASIA.
pronunciation. Yes.
CASIA. Now, the CASIA, what kinds of resources do you have there?
Okay. I think the first information is what came into the public domain recently. So I spoke with one or two people and asked that if they can get the proper information through the system, so that then we use that to begin to look at issues in a more strategic way. I think as we did that, we realized that that's not the only place. There are also other places where some work has been done, but it's not come into the public domain, and it's being done on the sidelines. I think there's one in Zomba. There's an area called Machinga. Yeah. So we agreed that
What are we talking about for the sake of the listeners, the others, because they might not know what we're talking about?
Okay, these are minerals in cassia. That's the rutile, and then there's
Rutile
gold,
and graphite.
rutile and graphite. Then there is gold.
Yeah.
Around the Machinga area, which is not properly structured. That's what has come out. But I'm informed that there is proper documentation. So we are sourcing that documentation so that we read, and then from there we pick it up from there.
I think it will be useful because in terms of rutile, you can search, do your research from sites like Mining Africa, some of the other sites. I think that's one of the things we need to do. That's why I asked concerning the economy and development policies and projects. I won't go into too many details on this platform. I might have to talk with John and others. We need to begin to see how to guide people to search for information, and then they can feed us back and then see how best we can now utilize that. Because it's data that is informing the multinational companies to do what they're doing. Because the rutile, that's the largest deposit in the world.
Yeah.
That's for the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about 1.8 billion tons.
Yeah.
That's 1.8 trillion kilograms. Don't let me go into too many details of the, 1.01% for rutile, 1.32% for graphite, and all of that. That's just cassia alone before you go into all the other places. And some of the places, including where you have a particular place that somebody happened to have gone, and they even have an institute for him there on a particular mountain. Have you people checked what was on that mountain?
The Mulanji Mountain.
Because he even linked that mountain to the heavens and had a whole thing on the mountain. That was when you were still, Northern Rhodesia, Southern Rhodesia days.
Hmm.
Was that not Stanley or was let me leave that alone. Let's just go on.
Okay.
I hope you're getting my point, and I'm not just talking to Hannah, because Beulah, for example, in Liberia, it appears it's others that are controlling whatever is happening in Liberia. We could go on like that. Same thing with South Africa. We had state capture and all those other things. The question is, are we going to live the rest of our lives talking about what people have done to us, or we are going to take positive action?
We have to take positive action.
Also, I only made research the last time when we had a teachings on the resources that we
You
have.
need to come closer to the microphone or increase your volume, please.
Sorry, sir. I think I need to check my
Okay.
instrument. As I was saying, I said I made research about the kind of resources that we have in Liberia the last time. We have uranium, we have cobalt, we have gold, we have diamonds, we have platinum, we have nickel.
And all these are in commercial quantities.
I'm sure, but I have to go back and do more research.
I think it's important because sometimes you might have such deposits, but you need to know whether they're in commercial quantities and it will be economically sound for you to mine them as against getting, products from them outside and all of that. That's what I'm talking about. Each gate taking responsibility. I don't want to go too far. So it's important that we get these things properly in place and in perspective. And like I said, we don't just want to, speak everything on the platform, but I believe when you get to your gate, there will be a few things that can be shared and those that can be shared in person. So we'll categorize them properly and then we'll move on from there and the change can come. All right. Okay, so those were the ones that had comments, questions, points of clarification. Any other person quickly before we move on? By the way, I had asked, yes, that we want to know those who were there this morning. Sister Hannah did answer. The others, can you please indicate by show of hands? Let's see. Catherine de Pilma was there. Who is the other person that was there? We have Remy, Jennifer, Susan Bakane. Who else was there? I want to see. Well, I don't see any other hand. John, was it just for, well, maybe Malawi had 5 people. So was it a total of 9 people? How many people did you have today?
Please, we were 17.
You were 17. That's good. That's encouraging. Sorry, it appears I made the mistake of not connecting my laptop. Just 1 minute. It might even be 10 seconds. Just a moment. All right, sorry about that. I just needed to quickly connect. I thought it was connected, but unfortunately, apparently, I wasn't connected. Okay. So you had 17 people that were in attendance. And in terms of spread, was it, global or local or what?
It was global, not local.
Okay, excellent. I pray that those of you that were there have, come up with what you want to begin to do. Maybe just give us an idea of one or two things you picked up that were very profound for you. Either you or Auntie Kate or both of you, just the two of you, and then we'll go on.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Yeah, please. Even though we were there for over 1 hour, I think the time was not 1 hour was not enough for us to read through the scriptures of the month, because today is the 1st of February, apart from being the beginning of the month. So we read those Psalms, and we read the Psalms for the economic gates. And as we read, Brother John will explain for us, and then he will give us prayer points out of them, and then we prayed. And so by the time we went through Job 38, it was almost 5 o'clock, from 3 to 5. So we had to close. So I believe the next time there would be discussions. But then for me, there are things, by the grace of God, I have already learned from you. But being at the meeting today, and some of the explanation he would give, I think it was worth it coming. It was worth it coming. Like Psalm 81, how not even all of the Psalms we took for the months, this month's Psalms, we took all of them, and they all were good, and they all led us to get ideas. But we will know that the beginning of the month like this, where we have the new moon also around the sun, also around the Son and the Father, the head leader, and the moon also being in this space, and the two of them working to overlap one another and all of that, and asking the Lord to be merciful to us. Psalm 67. If the Lord is not merciful to make himself known to you, his way known to you, for you to live in the fear of the Lord. If the Lord doesn't bless you, people cannot praise the Lord, all of this is, or coming to the place of Joseph, how John navigated the Joseph issue to Psalm 81 for us was very profitable. So for me, it has inspired me, and I told myself that, oh, Kate, even though you are, I'm not an old lady though, but even though you are mature, even if you cannot run like the younger ones again, if you cannot get positions like the younger one, you can be another in the gates. You can be among the councillors of state. This is what I told myself. So I told myself, I'll better build up myself. Thank you, sir.
Excellent. So at least what I'm happy about is that you have talked about one or two things you picked up, as against we just prayed, we didn't have enough time. Thank you very much. Okay, Remy, and that's it. Unless
Yes.
John.
What I won't go through what Auntie Kate has already shared, but I don't also break down the this thing of the year, the time of the year, equity, especially now, how God wants righteousness to be established through equity in nations. So do is the expression of the full expression of equity in government, in economy, in all the gates, but especially in management of resources and all the rest. So
Okay. So equity of expressions in the nations and within.
even in our own finances, how we can redeem, yes, equity of expression in the nation, how we can redeem things, resources we lose, financial opportunity we lose for even ourselves, for our community. Like, I want all anti, and then we pray a little bit, and he promised that next. So Shalom.
Shalom. I don't know whether it was my internet or it is your end. You seem to have been breaking. And so if the others heard you fully, no challenge. If they also had a challenge with some portions breaking out, then it could be your internet. But it's all right. At least we've gotten the key points that you're sharing concerning equity of expression for the nations, in the nations, etc., etc. And the fact that just like Auntie Kate, you realize that there was a need for us as people to begin to express what God wants expressed, both in terms of the heavenly bodies and their significance, etc., etc. Okay, let me leave it at that. If you want to get directly from what is happening on that day and you're in that gate, you need to make sure that next time you make it, and then especially now they're going to talk about practical ways you're going to see these things made manifest. It's important. With that said, does John want to make a quick comment? Or did he fall out? Maybe he's, I think he's no more. His device must have fallen off because he was here. I saw him earlier. It appears his device has fallen off. All right. With that said, I think it's time for us to look at a few things together from Psalm 60 and Psalm 108. Somebody had asked me whether we could continue with the aspect of angels and communication and all that. Is it possible that we can use that rather today for the aspect of belief systems and the economy and development policies and projects? Maybe that might be an important thing we need to look at. If I ask a basic question, how does the Lord go with you to take you into fortified areas of the economy, fortified areas of belief systems? Because mindset becomes like an unbreakable fortress. How does the Lord take you into fortified cities? Anybody wants to help? Well, let me probably go back to the Psalm 60 and Psalm 108 because it might help. Because it appears that probably, since not everybody was here when we were doing the reading, they didn't hear the reading because they are parallel, scriptures. both Psalm 60 and Psalm 108. I don't know if we want to use the same New King James that we used earlier, or we want to do the Amplified. Let me just use the New King James just to save on time. There are only 12 verses for Psalm 60. So let me go. Let's see it together. Here we go. All right. Excellent. Oh God, you've cast us off. You've broken us down. You have been displeased. Oh, restore us again. Oh, by the way, sorry, before I go on, we had said yesterday, maybe Prof. Deborah might make a comment or two again today, especially in the light of some of the things we talked about concerning the energy and all that. Do you have any comments? Or Eddie herself?
So I have no comments. I'm just glad people or the children of God are looking at energy in a different light, not just as a source. I think this is just the beginning, because this is just providing electricity using our resources. But then the next step will be, how do we now leverage on that resource? That not just providing energy, but also looking at some of the things that we spoke about. I think yesterday somebody mentioned the issue of access to clean water, I think in South Africa, because there are technologies that use a lot of energy to make clean water. And as you make clean water through desalination, that's removing the salt from seawater, you also get brine, where you get industrial salt that is used in the petrochemical industry. Within that same process, you can also produce hydrogen, which is used in other industries, as, for example, in the automobile industry. There are now machines that are now relying on hydrogen fuel. So there are opportunities. I'm glad we've started from here, and by God's grace, we'll see how best He carries us along in that direction. So thank you very much again for the opportunity to speak to people of like-minded, and express our gratitude to Logos-Rhema, to Dr. Abubakar, for the opportunity. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you too for availing yourself. And if it came to the aspect of energy at the personal level, I think people need to learn how to increase their energy at the personal level. Maybe I should have given Sister Mercy and the others the opportunity to talk about that. Probably one of these days we'll have to do that. Before I go on with this, I'm 60. Maybe it might be a useful thing to touch on that. How do you increase energy production for even yourself? And I'm not talking electricity now. You made reference to one of them when you were talking about your brother. Maybe I better stop this screen sharing to make it easy for everybody.
Sorry, again, sorry, I didn't catch it.
You made reference, a passing reference to, energy production for personal purposes, even for your body. And you were talking about, you started a project with your brother.
Yes, so that will be the microgreens. Funny enough, myself and my wife were talking about it today. How do we go back to it? Over here, we don't have much sun, but it's easier, and that's what we found out the last time. It's easier to do it in the temperate,
Yes.
tropical region rather than the temperate region, because we have the sun available to us. It packs a lot of energy. Some of the things that we've seen through research that has been conducted, not by us, but by other people of good repute, have shown that some of the elements that we get in, let's say, just for example, red cabbage. If you use microgreens, you are getting about 200 times, sometimes 300 times what actually the body requires. You are able to pack the body with a lot of energy using microgreens. So it's something that we need to look at maybe moving forward at the personal level, raising our own energy levels, and then see how best to God helps us to make an impact, not just at the level of making money, but level of helping people to regain their strength, regain possibly even their sight, build the immune system, and regain some of the functionalities of the organs and all that. So it's something that we can look at moving forward as even as a team. I like how Auntie Hannah put it. You learn about it, but then you start practicing it. We practice up to a certain point, but again, we will see how best God helps us to even raise it to another level. So that, thank you.
Excellent. Does your wife want to make any comments? Because she's also
please, yeah.
Shalom.
Shalom, Elephant.
So actually, I was actually discussing with Seth earlier today that we need to consider, because, well, I love gardening. I love flowers, herbs, everything to do with plants. I love doing them, but it's not so easy for me here. So one big part of me has been taken away with the weather here. But then I was telling him that we need to go back and look at the microgreens, because it was something we were doing back home, and we did it mostly for the family, and then we did a lot of herbs and plants. So usually the herbs I cook with is usually from my own garden. So I was just saying that we need to go back to that, because when you are eating what you have grown, you are sure of what you are getting. And you realize that even the taste is totally different from what you get on the market. So I was asking him if we can look at that going forward. And I think with this coming up, we can see how best as a team within the assembly and within the ecclesia, if we can come together as a team and actually not just help ourselves as individuals or families, but also help the nations as a whole to actually, because it's for us here, it's gotten to the point where it's very difficult to come by organic food. So if you come to that realization, you realize that, oh, so the sun we have, because that's one discussion I keep having with Seth, that we never valued the sun when we were in Ghana. It's always available, we'll do. But one thing I've realized here is times and seasons. These people take it very seriously. We live in a place where we have a lot of farms around, and we see that because it's almost spring, they have started preparing their land. It's like they are really timely with their times and seasons. And we need to actually start thinking in that light and not think that the sun or everything is always available. We can do it later. There is nothing like later. The time is now. That's basically.
Excellent. So we don't know what we have, or we don't value what we have until we lose it. May God help us not to lose and ensure that we start valuing what we have. It is important. But let me say quickly before Sister Mercy comes in that all, hope is not lost and all opportunity is not gone. If you go on YouTube concerning microgreens, you will notice some people are doing that, indoors in the US. And like you both said, it's not just for the financial aspect, but there are people who are making anything between $3,400 to $30,000 a month just from microgreens, from just a little portion of their garage. If you go and check, you'll find that. So you will not only be helping your family and the people in Vienna, for example, but you will also be helping fund the kingdom to an extent, because both of you, by the mercies of God, experts. That's why the International Agency for, Atomic Energy, or International Atomic Energy Agency, has called you because of your expertise. But then there are these things, so you're not limited to just one area. So I would be looking forward to hearing in the next, 2 to maximum 3 weeks from both of you what you have done already after doing your studies, because you can actually use even just a tiny aspect of the entry point of your house, with even grow lights, and you'll be able to do some things that will be very serious. I will be surprised if all you have is just enough to eat in your house. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is Elikam still here? Seth, are you still there? Or you've gone quiet on me now?
Sorry, Daddy. I think we went off briefly, but he's here now.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, then. You wanted to say something? Go ahead.
No, again, I think it's something that we need to return to as quickly as possible. So as you said, we have some space around the house that can start up the microgreens. We will go into it and then report within the 3 weeks timeline that we've been given.
Excellent. That's
Yes.
what I love about you. You're ready to take up the challenge and do the assignment. Excellent. Well, God bless both of you. Now let's have Sister Mercy. Go ahead.
Okay. I thought they were speaking from the Ghana point of view. That's why I put my microphone off. But I saw this.
They spoke from the Vienna point.
I know. I thought they were speaking about Ghana. I was thinking that I saw something on Facebook about this giant spinach which grows vertically. So it occupies very little space. So one can grow it. And I don't know the one who spoke previously. I thought it was from Ghana. I was thinking that actually one of the things that we could explore is people growing different greens and sharing what we learn, because I also love plants a lot, and I have tried planting different things which die from time to time. So learning from each other practically on, I grow this. If we have a group like that and learn lessons from each other, because we've done Operation Feed Yourself before, and we should be able to exchange ideas on what we can grow around our houses and what we have learned.
All right, no challenge. We can have Operation Feed Yourself, Operation Feed the Nation, and all that. That's very good. And in terms of even just the aspect of energy, beyond just microgreens, the reason why microgreens came in for scientists like them is the fact that they are looking at how much energy you end up releasing from just a tiny thing, because in terms of gram for gram, the adult thing versus the microgreen, expression of that, you have the nutrient density almost 50 to 200 times. Because he talked about the red cabbage, then the garnet amaranths, and all those other things. Because I was privileged to be the one who introduced these things to a lot of us. And we even had a group that was meeting. And some people who used it actually had a lot of sicknesses and diseases disappear. But you would understand it because you're talking about ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the energy production in the mitochondria and all of that, because it's what you feed that will determine how much you are able to have in terms of output. And really, it's energy that determines even your aging, true or false.
True, please.
So, fortunately, unfortunately, the average person is going to buy all kinds of, creams. Don't let me go there. I better stop. Oh, Lord have mercy on us. That's why some people are called mercy. To God be the glory. So let me ask you before I now continue with the other questions. If we were talking in terms of, energy production, have you looked at all the other areas? At personal level, because I am not going to the spiritual and the realm of the soul, but even in the physical. Sister Mercy?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
I was saying that when you talk about energy production for the person, maybe physically, what are some of the things we need to look at? Because I talked about, I don't want to go into the oxygen odyssey and all that. If you are talking about energy production for your body, what are some of the sources of energy that the ordinary person can relate to?
In terms, I'm trying to understand whether this is at the cell level or in terms of food that we're taking.
People can talk about, cellular level because we were talking of cellular regeneration earlier, not you, but, people like Seth, Deborah, Professor Deborah, and all the others. But I am saying, okay, even without going too deep about the science, what are some of the basic things? He's just given the aspect of microgreens, for example. There are
Okay.
people who work about microgreens, and microgreens up to today seem to be mainly available in five-star hotels, and not all of them, the elite ones. And then you have those who have discovered that actually end up going to buy from the producers. That's why I said, I know somebody who that was like his side work. And then he is now going to that more, seriously in the US. He gets minimum of $30,000, a month. And he is now aiming for $30,000 a week, which means $120,000 a month. I know some of you that are, in Geneva, you are earning that. Otherwise, then, like you said, since it is your passion, maybe you should look into it. Being a doctor, being somebody who has been in public health to an extent, instead of having to look for vaccines and all that, you could actually begin to help people to recover. Because what he talked about pertaining to, say, the red cabbage and garnet amaranth that I now added, could actually deal with cancer. But don't let me go in too far and wide. So I was just asking, what are some of the things that we need to do practically that you know of?
I'm being put on the
On the spot. Okay, Mimi is helping you. What's the best oil? Soil pH. Okay, for red cabbage, please. Oh, okay, she's rather asking a question. Okay, Veronica wants to help you before we come back to you. So Mercy, in the meantime, think, because I'm coming back to you. Okay, Sister Veronica, go ahead.
Thank you. I think just to come in and try to respond. What I personally do is exercising.
Yes.
Being out by 6 a.m. just to get vitamin D, the sun, as it comes out. Gut health.
That's because of your location and the time of the year. So
Uh-huh.
we just talk about the aspect of the sun, but you have a very good point there, for vitamin D3 and all of that. So in terms of the time, it depends on the time that your
Where
own
you
sun
are.
rises and all that.
Yes. Gut health is very important. The food we take to preserve and maintain our energy, also for metabolism. I'll go for the food. I also started an organic garden at the back, so I've got a lot of fruits and vegetables. So I eat from my garden. I also have a lot of flowers around the house, the garden. So also being in an environment that calms your
Including
mind.
edible flowers.
I don't have edible flowers now.
Why not?
We started this project. Garden is expensive. It is expensive.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. So we needed to convert to borehole first because water is expensive. So we invested in borehole first. And then we had beds that ate our vegetables. We needed to get a cover for that, and we prioritized the greens. While we were growing the greens, then we realized that there are insects that were eating the greens.
Okay, I hear you.
So
But
it was not as smooth.
you're already growing flowers, and I was saying, how about the edible flowers?
Oh, I get you. I thought of the other edible flowers. Sorry, I never thought of the spinach, the cabbages, and all that. We have.
Because quite a number of them are very medicinal. I'm giving you free information, but that's okay. I think I should start charging you.
Yeah, but one of the things and sleep. So I started sleeping a lot because I used to not to sleep. Thanks. Those are the things that I do to preserve energy personally. Training,
Oh,
sleeping, and eating well
okay.
in the sun.
Excellent. Excellent. Let's hear from Sister Mercy. She had now unmuted, and I see more hands coming up. So it means that we might end up just answering questions and having comments, and I might not be able to deal with my Psalm 60 and Psalm 108, but it's okay. It's about being able to gain something, because we're talking of equity of expression, so that you are given equal opportunities. Sister Veronica, have you finished?
Yes, I am done. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. All right. Then let's go to Sister Mercy, and then we'll come to Lucille and Benedicta. And I see that John is back, just in case he has any comment on what people that came for the prayer time for the economy and all that, some of the things that he wants to highlight, so that people make sure that next time they are there, he could. But let's quickly finish with Sister Mercy and then Lucille and Benedict.
Yeah, thank you very much, CS. I think at different stages in our lives, our needs evolve. I think quite a number of people on this platform are 40 plus, a few maybe younger. So my talk will be more towards those who are 40 and above. And I think the realization as we grow older to remind ourselves that we need food less and less as we grow older. And actually, I was looking at how many days in a year that there is fasting in Logos-Rhema, and I said, if you're in Logos-Rhema, you have any problem because you'll be fasting half the year. So food intake may not be an issue. But I think that that has been said, ensuring if you can grow.
But sorry, well, some people actually say that, we punish them with too much fasting.
It's actually, I mean, if you ask me personally, I looked at it and I was like, this is half the year. Yes, isn't this a bit much? But anyway, I said, if you follow the Logos-Rhema schedule, you won't have any problem. But what I was trying to say about 40 years, making intermittent fasting a way of life is important. But I think above all, especially when it comes to food intake, it's very important to remember that it's not good to switch on to something over a short period of time. I see a lot of people go into dieting, then they change it to something else. What matters most is your mindset, recognizing your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, and ensuring that before you move on to whichever way you want to take in your food, you need to really sit down and go over what this means. And there are various ways that you can gently move into a different way of food intake if you are not happy with yours. For example, changing for those, and actually, I don't see that a lot of people are overweight. I don't think overweight is an issue in Logos-Rhema compared to some other places. So, but doing things like reordering the way you eat by eating your vegetables and protein first before your carbs, because as you get older, the carbs can be an issue. And then intermittent fasting is certainly healthy, and if you follow Logos-Rhema, is not an issue. And then movement. And in Africa, I think the challenge is that we think that having a car is a status symbol. So you find people, they get out of their house, they jump into a car, get wherever going, walk 10 steps, get into an air conditioning room. And so if your life is like that, making it intentional to move. I monitor the steps I take every day as part of my healthy way of life, and ensuring that you have a balanced meal. And CS is better than me in terms of the diet that he follows, which is on the higher side. I'm in the middle. He's on the higher side. But yeah, moving the food we take, ensuring that you
The
have.
time you were eating with me in Switzerland, you were watching me closely.
I was watching you. I was eating all the unhealthy foods, and you didn't even eat. Anyway, so once we follow these things, and I think what somebody talked about plants. Plants at home is not just for the beauty, but absorbing, especially those of us who live in urban areas, absorbing pollution. So whether you live in you are in a compound house or wherever, you can have some plants, whether it's outside in a pot or something in your room. It helps. And I think the previous speaker also talked about calming you. Yes, the green itself is calming to the nerves. So, but more importantly, because they've done studies to show that beyond all the healthy food you can eat and movement and all that, our social interactions are the most important. And I'll say, fortunately for Africa, we are generally better on that. But when you are in an urban area, your social interactions could not be helpful. I mean, you are not able to get the optimal one. But again, the way Logos-Rhema organizes the fast, half the year, apart from going to church, you have time to interact like we are doing. So that's social interaction. Whether you are going for, in Ghana, a funeral or an outdoor or wherever, is very important in terms of our health and above all our mindset. I learned Ephesians 4:2 when I was in class 1. And be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake has forgiven you. So that tender-heartedness and forgiving each other is all part of the healthy life that helps us to live long. Pause.
All right, thank you very much, Sister Lucille, and then we'll go to Sister Benedicta, and then we might have a quick comment from John, and then we are ready to draw the curtain, unless there's something else.
Thank you, sir. No, I just want, because somebody talked about a borehole, and depending on where you are, if you are in Nairobi, those things cost fortunes. But in Africa, maybe we need to learn to the rain harvesting, rainwater. For me, I think it is better even than tap water to water your garden. Apart from the cost, it doesn't really that's my experience, because I really eat from my garden. Some of those things I don't even plant them. The bird plant them for me and I eat. But I like harvesting rain a lot. I invest in those things, and like now we are having rain and I am seeing all my tank are full, and I keep on thinking how best I can do it. So it's just to advise that in Africa, we need to learn to harvest the rainwater.
Excellent.
Okay, that's good. So it's important to harvest rainwater. As we continue to meet, maybe there could be sharing of technologies, because I know somebody, he is now passed on in the Philippines. He was governor of Capiz region. In Metro Manila, he was only, harvesting rainwater. He wasn't on the national water, supply line, because he had some tanks and some technology that actually purify the water even much better than whatever was coming from the government. But let me leave it there, because in the interest of time, let's hear Sister Benedicta and then Sister Mercy again.
Shalom, and thank you very much. For the past few days, I've been thinking about planting spinach, and I think it was mentioned not too long ago that there's a kind of spinach that does not take a lot of space. I would like to know what kind of spinach is that, because I've been thinking for the past few days. I've been thinking about it.
I will
Thank
send it
you.
to Dave. I will send it to Dave.
All right. So
Thank you.
that answers your question, that you're going to get the name given, so that you can look for it online. You can get whatever you need to get and then continue from there. Anything else, Sister
Thank you
Benedicta?
very much.
All right. Now, Sister Mercy.
Yeah, I had two questions. Is there somebody in Logos-Rhema who deals with harvesting rainwater system? Because what the sister said just reminded me that I need to work on mine. So that was my first question. My second question was, I saw something on YouTube which I thought was amazing, but I don't know whether it's a hoax, about an equipment which can make rain. You put it on your kitchen top, and it will take hydrogen and oxygen from the air and make water, not rain, for domestic use. And I wanted to know whether anybody has seen anything like that. Thank you.
There are things that, machines that the military use for water from the atmosphere. And there are companies that are selling things like that. It will be important for you to get people who know the credible ones, and then you can work on that. With that said, let me allow Brother John to make his comments on the gate, the economy gate. We can talk about people helping with the harvesting of rain in Logos-Rhema and all that, because some of these details will be at your gates, and then you'll be able to say, because even the aspect of what do you call it, the business directory, it will come there. Then you can know what each person is doing and all that. I've seen all kinds of comments and questions about what to do. I mean, some of us do minimum of 7 different types of exercises every day before we have our bath, without fail. Even today, I did some in a different location before I went into where I normally do my exercises, and it really helped, but we can talk about, all the things that are necessary, including, nocturnal plants, because you talked about the plants aspect. Nocturnal plants will be the ones that, still breathe in carbon dioxide in the night, and they breathe out oxygen. But generally, some plants end up, breathing oxygen at night. So people need to know the difference, to know which ones they should put in their bedrooms and all that. Because in 2011, I had to read about 21 books on that. Let me stop there. Let's listen to Brother John.
Shalom, sir.
Shalom.
Just so that I am accurate, is there a specific area you want me to touch? Is there a specific question?
Well, the people, when your device had fallen out, the people talked about what they learned, the Psalms for the month, Psalms for the gate, and how you were explaining things, and that really helped them. Just at the time you were getting to Job 38, the time was up, and the fact that, they learned things pertaining to Joseph and all that. But now you were saying that you would take your time in the next meeting. So I said, well, I would have loved for you to make comments on what you're looking at now in terms of the economy gate and how people can actually begin to prepare before that, and whatever you want to highlight for now before we close for tonight, because today was a day for economy and mindset. Oh, by the way, Mimi had asked a question pertaining to pH of soil. What, Professor Deborah was talking about had to do with the microgreens, because just the red cabbage on its own would not give you what he was talking about. He was talking about the microgreen of that. So you need to probably, again, talk with both the economy and development policies and projects gate and 1 or 2 others in science and technology. So you'll be able to know how to grow microgreens, or better still, you can help those who are already doing something, in microgreens area, and see how you will come alongside them. So back to Brother John.
Well, thank you so much, sir. So this morning, fortunately for us, we had 3 things that were aligning, and the first one being the Sabbath day, the second one being the 1st of February, and then the third one being our first meeting this year for the Gate of Economy. So with these 3 things happening, we decided to take it from the mother, which was the month, and then come to the day and then the gate. In our discourse and prayer and seeking the face of the Lord, we discovered another angle of equity that God was talking about. And the template that the Lord was using was the equity that Joseph found in Egypt. where he was being planted through a process that he didn't know what he was going through, but all of a sudden he had equity in Egypt, a land that he was not from, a land that he didn't understand the language, and all of that. So the scriptures pointed to that. So that has given the reason why I stopped at Job 38 was because while leading, the Lord led me to understand that it was time to begin to use our words, our mouths, to shape what He's saying in this season. So basically, speaking and decreeing what He's saying, based on Job 38, ordering our morning, the morning that has just begun for us as a gate. In terms of plans, because the Lord is talking about equity for expression, it's now, I'm not surprised when I came on a few times to listen to my brother, uh, uh, Mr. Deborah. It was quite clear that, and also listening to everybody this evening, it's quite clear that the Lord is pointing us to specific resources. And these resources, coupled with what the Lord has led you to share with us, can be taken with numbers. And so, but not just any numbers, but quality numbers. Looking at the Gideon principle, also, we have to be cautious as to what God is saying. But it's numbers that are going to take it over. So, doing some resource audit in this season and find out where people need to be planted is one of our key focus this season. And so now it's clear why the Lord was laying it on our hearts to create the directory for these kinds of services going forward. Now, I also heard you mention that it was time to disciple nations to take over their resources. So it'll be great for us to develop a template on how to guide people to do that. And so basically, that's what will be our working program for this year. Now, what are our key expectations at the end of this year? At the end of the year, we want to be able to take hold of some key sectors of society. We want to be able to influence governments that the economic side of government, basically not the Ministry of Finance alone, but the Ministry of Economic Development, the agriculture sector, and all of that. And so I would be spending some time with some core team to develop some of these templates to help people access these areas. Now, I also want to mention that the more we participate, the more we get a variety of what God is saying, and the more we can develop a robust template. Because anytime I hear Mama Lucille speak about Kenya, especially when she was talking about statistics, one of the great things she said was, so when you are called married, they just qualify you to be a Christian. And so also we need to sort of desensitize some of this information properly and see how we can use it for our advantage. So, sir, in a nutshell, that's our direction. That's what we gleaned today, and so yeah, that's what we'll be working with. Thank you so much for the opportunity. God bless you, sir.
Excellent. Well done. And we thank God for your lives. And we pray that all the other gates will be working. So for sure, we now have education and economy working in terms of meeting consistently beyond just the breaking fast. So it is important. And I know that family and future development are doing something in terms of training of teachers, but I pray that there will also be consistent meeting on their day, especially since their day is used for KIPAC. If they could have a meeting online before KIPAC, that would be useful, but we have to interrogate that properly. With that said, some people are asking different kinds of questions. Again, if you go for your gate meetings, it'll be easier because agriculture and all that will feature both in economy and science and technology. Then you can get some of the names of the plants, the ones that you heard mentioned today, where the aspect of giant, excuse me, you had the aspect of the giant spinach, and then you had the aspect of the, red cabbage, and then the garnet amaranth. Those were the ones that were mentioned, but there is much, much more to these things than that. Pertaining to those who want to be able to know phases of the moon, there is, one of those apps called Phases. And you can have that on your phone, and then it will actually give you an alert. If you want the whole heavens and seeing all these alignments that people have been talking about between January 21st, 25th, and then the whole of February, up to about 27th or 26th, then you need things like, Star Walk, as an app. I'm just giving you a few examples so that you can begin to download those things. Then you would not have to wait for people to tell you. You will actually have the thing alert, give you an alert. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So for those of you that are in the various gates, it will be useful for you to get in touch with people like Brother John and Sister Willie Kalu. Brother John Ayayi, for the aspect of the economy and development policies and projects, because he has a template. Professor Kalu also seems to have a template, but it will be useful that you actually begin to interact with these people. And before you know it, we're proper, going it will be important that we will move from place to place and see how best to collaborate. I think that's what I was looking for. In the light of Ephesians chapter 4, the whole body being fitly joined and compacted together by that which every joint supplies, as each part works in the measure of that part. So let's try and do that. So that we can, quickly close. Today is supposed to be TGAW for those of you that can make it. Let's just thank God for the body of Jesus that was broken for us and the blood of Jesus shed for us. And since they went from house to house and continuing the apostles' teaching, breaking of bread, and sharing of fellowship, prayers, and all that, we declare that that which God ordained for you as a person would not be denied. You will be released into full expression and manifestation in your life. We also declare from today that you enter a place where your life is a statement of glory. We declare also from today that that portion that has to do with you, ensuring that it's contributed to the body of Christ will not be denied. The body of Christ will not be denied the kingdom. It is released into manifestation in the name of the Lord Jesus. We declare also that you will end up with the blood of the Lamb that was shed from the foundation of the world being released to cause so much expression of the glory of God in and through your life. Wherever you go from today, you will see the glory of God in manifestation. We declare that you are blessed with the blessing of the Lord and you are being kept by the power of God. And from today, you will be one that carries the image of the face of Christ as you are being transformed from glory to glory, being conformed to the image of the Son and sonship in reality, that you'll go from one level of that to another level of glory and grace. Grace, that will be the bringing forth of the capstone with the shout of grace, grace unto it. And that from today you enter new levels of the manifestation of the power of God, and levels that his countenance will be upon you every step of the way. And you will end up with the shalom of God that will destroy everything that advances chaos in your life, around you, in your environment, in your family, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. The body of Jesus broken for you, take it. The blood of Jesus shed for you, take drink. So we'll go ahead and then we can take announcements. Shalom. Announcements, please.